everybody, it's Irene with BrainStorm Acres, and you haven't been here with me in quite a while. This is the garden, and this particular bed is raspberries. And today what I am doing is I have already gone through and done the big trim down and clean out the other day. But there's a couple of other canes that I noticed that are actually older that I wanted to get rid of. And I also wanted to talk about disinfecting your tools. So people don't think about the fact a lot of times that if there's anything wrong, any sort of disease or fungus or anything in your plants, when you cut them with a tool and then you move on to another plant, you can transfer that disease to the other plant. And there's two major forms of disinfectant that people use in gardens. One is a Clorox solution, and you use 1 part Clorox to 10 parts water, or you use an alcohol solution. Now, the advantage to alcohol is it won't rust your tools, and Clorox also tends to pit steel. So I have an old peanut butter jar here that says 70% alcohol on it. And I'm simply going to set it here. Now, the article I reread this morning was doing this whole warning thing about be careful, alcohol is dangerous and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I guess if you're a smoker, it is. I'm not a smoker. It's not a problem. And I'm highly unlikely to light myself on fire doing this. So I've just tucked it in there for a second. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at the various canes on this plant here to see if any of them are dead or look unhealthy. There's one tiny little piece down here that probably will come off with my fingers, which it did. And I've been going through and actually pulling off the little leftover branches from last year too, because my goal was to actually remove absolutely anything that could possibly have bug eggs or anything else on it. And then I've been taking them and putting them away in the burn barrel so that they'll get cooked the next time we do burning. There is one old cane here, right in the middle. Okay, it snapped. I was not sure it would do that. It's such a large cane that I was concerned about trying to get in there with my clippers to see if I could cut it. But it came off by itself, so that's great. And I will put him in the burn barrel later. But going down to the next one here, I know that this is done pretty well. What I did was I cut them back to about a foot to 18 inches each. Any dead tips from last year are gone. Any old canes, these are raspberries, so they produce fruit on last year's canes. So these canes here have all started, the leaf buds, the buds have started to leaf out. And this cutting back was done, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And I wanted to get it done before the buds swelled too much, and I did. I now have some spots, like this one, that are really, really putting out nice new leaves. And these guys are a little slower, but that's okay. They're still doing great. Also pulling a little bit of just leftover leaves and things out of here. This, again, looks good. I don't see anything that looks unhealthy in here. And I'm not really 100% sure if there is anything unhealthy in this batch. I just wanted to start at one side of the yard and go to the other one. That way I could be completely systematic. I do have a few little sticks left on here from last year. So taking those off. This has been weeded now because I've been watering steadily. It's got new grass coming up and stuff like that, but it's been weeded and it's been mulched. Now this one here has one here that doesn't look like it's still alive. This is obviously healthy. This is a little less excited about life. All these other ones that I'm seeing here look good. I don't like the fact that some of these are crossing quite as much as they are. there is a dead piece down here. So I'm going to trim him off. I'm not convinced about this guy. So at least going to take him off down here. There's an old piece of cane down here. Now I just resharpened this morning, but some of these old pieces of cane are pretty big and tough. So that went better. And there, that out of there. Okay. And let's see what else this guy's doing down here now. I'm going to disinfect this again because I'm switching plants. And if you're really concerned, like if you really think you have something bad in there, you may want to cut in between each cut. Some people think that's too fussy, some people don't. I don't know, these are important plants to us, so, you know, you have to sit there and say, well, how important is something? And some people are very casual about this whole thing. Some people aren't. This, I would say, is, let's see. This one here appears to be sort of toasted, so we'll get rid of him. That one. These are all sprouting off beautifully. You can really see some nice leaves on that one. What I'm a little hesitant about is this one, because it seems to be, it's starting to peel, and that's a sign of the older canes. So I'm going to say this was last year. Worst case, I've opened up the center here a little bit. We'll get a little bit better ventilation in the center of the plant. That's less of a problem here than it is in wetter climates, but it's not going to hurt anything. And I can see some new shoots starting to come up from the ground here. Right over here, there's some brand new ones. They're that dark red color, and that'll be next year's cane. We found that whether it's due to our climate or what, we're not getting quite as much of a. What they tell you is that the canes from that are grown this year will produce next year. But we found that our new canes were already producing at the end of the summer. I have a little pile of trash here, and I don't want to leave it there. Our canes that last year, for instance, new canes that popped up at the beginning of the year were already producing at the end of the summer. So I don't know whether that's due to our climate or the variety or whatever. These plants came from Johnny's Select Seeds, and they are called Nova, and Nova Red raspberries. So we have gotten quite a few plants over the years from Johnny's. Our asparagus is from Johnny's. Our rhubarb is from Johnny's, except for one plant, which was a gift from a friend. Our blackberries are from Johnny's. When we were doing a bunch of garlic years ago, we got a couple of different kinds of that from them. We've always been very pleased with the quality of their plants, the sanitation, all that sort of thing. So, yeah. I'm going to now move over to the other raspberry bed. I'll do a brief discussion of what went on in the blackberry beds, and I'll probably also do a couple of trim ups there, but time to move over there. Now the yard is in severe need of TLC at this point. This bed got really messed up at the end of last year. We got gophers in it, but I need to rebuild it, and that's going to be quite a process. So first things first, it's only March, so berries come first because they're important in terms of producing things that we don't have to pay for the garden, for the kitchen rather. Now these blackberries are also from Johnny's Select Seeds. By the way, I get nothing from Johnny's other than the fact that I buy seeds from them, and I also occasionally buy plants from them, but they're not a sponsor. I just think they're a very good company. They are employee owned. They have had their problems with shipping and stuff in the past because I think they just didn't size up enough to accommodate the modern market. But other than that, I have never had a problem with their seeds and stuff. And if I did have any kind of an issue, I can contact a grower and they will have somebody get back with me, usually within 48 hours. These are Prime Arc Freedom Blackberries. These are, as I said, from Johnny's. They are thornless, and these also have been cut back. I tried to clear off most of the leaves because I did not want to give them any place for bug eggs to hang out. In the past 10 years, this area here has become much more buggy than it used to be. I used to be able to grow anything I wanted to with almost no spraying or hassles with bugs. That's not the way it is anymore. So we are upping our efforts for sanitation in terms of removing anything that bug eggs could be on and stuff like that. Now this plant here has been, they've all been cut, and this has got just a couple little sticks on them. They're still flexible, so I didn't want to take off those. If the leaves had looked diseased, I would have taken them off immediately. I just cut them off. They generally say cut it back, you know, a foot to 18 inches tall. Some of these I've left a little longer because that way they'll be putting fruit out in this direction. You direct which way the plant grows the same way as you would with roses. So you watch for a bud that's going in the direction that you want it to grow in, and you cut above that bud. Now that plant is going to put its efforts into this bud. This was a quick pruning job that I did simply because I noticed that the plants were starting to put out leaves, and they had big whips left over from the end of last summer, and I did not want them to be putting a lot of effort into pieces of the plant that I was going to be cutting off. So I simply decided I would do a real quick cut down one day just to get rid of the really long things. Now on this branch down here, I do not like the way this one branch is looking, so I'm going to cut below where that one branch is looking with my disinfected shears, and I'm going to plop them back in. I'm going to make a pile of debris over here, which I will make go away later. Even if I'm taking a sick-looking piece off, I try when I can to direct the plant in the direction that I want it to go. So let's see, this little guy here is not sprouting. He appears to be dead. And his buddy next door, this is part of the original plant that came to us 2 years ago, I forget now. Anyway, that one broke off by itself. That one I'm going to cut off. They're both dead. You can still stick that back in there, just to be sure. And I'm looking these guys over to see if I see anything that I don't approve of. There's one little cane here that's coming out that appears dead. Chop. Okay. Trying to find the proper jar. I was trying to find one that seemed like it would be big enough that I could really support the cutter in there nicely, and make sure the whole blade was getting down into it. Not really thrilled with this one. I'll watch it and see what happens. I'm out here every day. So if I decide a week from now that I don't like the way something looks, it's very easy for me to decide to lop it off at that point. And I am starting to cut off a few more of these leaves and stuff just because I want that sort of stuff gone. Now, this branch here does not look healthy, and I'm going to take the top of it off. And it could just be frost damage, but in general, I'm not thrilled with this. If this guy doesn't sprout a lot better in the next week or so, I will probably lop him off, because I just don't want to keep anything that doesn't look like it's happy and healthy. And I will clean up all this stuff I'm tossing behind me right now later on. This is not something that fell down. This is actually a cane that grew out and had fruit on it, as a matter of fact, last year. There's new stuff coming out of the base here, but that does not look like it's going to be anything. I got some nice little sprouts coming in here. This is dead stuff from last year. I cut it back roughly earlier. These are the old canes. I probably actually need to get into here with a bigger cutter. Yeah, I can't cut that with this. It's a little too big for those cutters. But after you've raised plants long enough, you can sit there sometimes and look at a plant and say, that doesn't look right. And you'll find that your sense of healthiness versus unhealthiness is a good one. Most of these plants are starting to put out some nice leaves. I'm just going to continue this process as I go through here. I'm going to take off a few of the sticks, just because I'm going to take them off anyway later. That one. But they're not completely dried off at the base yet. And I'll just cut them back at least for now. I'm just being fussy. And it's my garden, so I'm allowed to do that. All right. Checking the other side of the plants on the bed. And if you find like this one has a dead branch up here, take him off. This one also appears to be dead about there. And this one. And I cannot tell just by glancing as to whether some of this is frost damage. Some of this is old cane. So I'll probably have a couple of other old pieces. I think this whole thing may be old. I think it is. Yep. Okay. This is probably from the first year. I don't know if I can cut this one. I may need to get a bigger clipper. Yeah. I can get the side one, I think. Yep. But that other big one I'm going to need to get a bigger clipper for. And I'll be, like I said, I'm out here every day. I'm always checking for water. I've been hand watering lately because I had a source of water that I could take water from. It doesn't cost me anything because it's rainwater. And I've just been watering with a watering can. Scoop it out of the tank and water the plants.